What's up everyone, it's Leo. Welcome to another video, and today we're going to be talking about real estate, but more importantly we're going to talk about inflation, stagflation, and the recession. I know it's a dreaded word, but I believe right now we're in a recession. There's tons of layoffs going on. So before I start, let me explain what inflation is, right? So this way you get an idea. So obviously it's that things are going up, and inflation is the rate of increase in prices over a given period of time. That's what inflation is basically. And you're seeing that all over. They're saying it's supply chain, but it's really not. It's the cost of goods are going up. We printed 40% more money, and that's what it is. So, second of all, we want to talk about this big evil R word called recession. And recession is basically an economic slowdown, and everyone is talking about this, and I'm having a lot of feedback from people that I know. People on TikTok are saying, I work for shipping companies, there's a slowdown. I speak to fellow business owners, there's a slowdown. But the real estate industry is not slowing down yet, and usually in a recession real estate prices tend to stay high, and it doesn't tend to slow down. They don't go down in price. 5 out of the 7 recessions in the past, and real estate has gone up. Because what they tend to do is they tend to drop the interest rate after they raise it. Obviously they drop it to spur the economy to get out of a recession. Usually recessions last between 12 and 24 months. So this creates a slowdown and kind of like a halt of people, because people are not spending. Now I don't know what people are doing, but I know that they were saving a ton of money during the pandemic, and in turn right now they're not spending money. I don't know, I go to the mall a lot with my kids, and I'm seeing people in stores. I don't know what they're spending it on, but I don't know. It's hard to believe what you see on the media until you actually start talking to actual business people that own businesses. So we have this other evil word called stagflation. And this is a mashup term which combines the word stagnation and inflation. So it's basically both. And it's basically when the economies malfunction and there is basically a slump and a freeze in economical growth. So it's almost like it's a pause. And this is World Bank is slashing its global growth forecast and warning that many countries will fall into recession if the economy slips into a period of stagflation reminiscent of the 70s. And you know I love the 70s, bell bottoms and all, the Bee Gees too. The only thing is that I don't have moves like John Travolta, and I can't whip up miracles like the Fed can, apparently, with their interest rate hikes. But let's get back to this. And based on like the war in Ukraine, and it's very weird that so coincidentally everything came together, and now you got the war in Ukraine, and that's gonna cause supply disruptions with China. It's just very, very strange to me that it's so coincidental, right? So let's talk about what happened. And inflation went up. The Fed came in, they raised rates, and now apparently we have a recession. And from what I'm seeing today, the Fed raised the rates another 3/4 of a point. The market's going nuts. It tanked early yesterday. Today it went up again. It's because it's a big game, the stock market, and everyone's worried. And I have people saying, "Oh, my 401k, I'm down 300,000, I'm down 400,000." It's something to be concerned about, and it's a plausible risk because such outcomes would still not be true of stagflation of the 70s. Though popular in the headlines today, stagflation is more than the coexistence of slow growth and too high of inflation, right? So we're stuck in this middle ground. So let's look back at what actually happened back in the 70s. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but back in the 70s, we had this issue with our oil prices, and they jumped up and they stayed high, and the cost of living grew significantly unaffordable for many. And I compare everything, the 70s, a house was $1,700, to the 80s, which was $47,000. So when stagflation came in 1974 to 1982, inflation, unemployment in the United States topped 5%, and the combination of two figures came to call the misery index, which peaked at most miserable 20.6 in 1980. So stagflation, and especially chronically high inflation, became a defining feature of the 70s. We all know this. We've seen the long gas lines. I have deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra would say. Even though I was born in 77, my dad used to tell me stories about this. So Nixon obviously, took us off the gold standard, and that's what caused it. So right now, based on what I'm seeing, it's going to be tough to get out of here. Apparently, the Fed said they might raise the rate another half a point. I don't know how it's going to happen, but we printed 40% more money. And everyone's blaming Joe Biden. I'm blaming him too. That the 1.9 trillion stimulus plan in March is really hot, and Ukraine war made things worse. I mean, we already know this. And from what they're talking, this actual stag part of inflation hasn't arrived yet. I think it's going to get bad within the next 12 to 24 months. I don't see real estate crashing. That's my honest opinion. Again, if you go back between 5 and 1970 and 1980, well, the last out of 5 out of the 7 recessions, real estate did not go down. And we have a definite lack of houses on the market. Risks are accumulating, and so are concerns about stagflation. And Powell, who is a mentee of Yellen, good luck with that, acknowledged that the central bank might not be able to achieve a soft landing and dodge a recession, which, wink wink, means we're going into a recession. We're already in a recession, that's my opinion. You know how it goes out there in the media. They're like, oh, we're not in a recession. You know, the poop hits the fan, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we're in a recession. I made a mistake, like Janet Yellen said. I made a mistake, I didn't know. Like, yeah, it's great, you know. No accountability. This is the problem in this country. There's no accountability for any of these politicians. The hedge funds are running the show. You've got tons of real estate investors selling houses to hedge funds. Don't let me get started on this. It's ridiculous, and the American dream is getting crushed to death. And I refuse to sell any houses to hedge funds, just as a side note, so you guys know. I'm totally against that. But again, Europe is worse, believe it or not. The world is worse than what's going on here, believe it or not, because again, we're the reserve currency, and we are really taking advantage and abusing the fact that we're the reserve currency. I don't know what else to say, but we're basically abusing it big time. I mean, come on, we're helicoptering money to people, and you think that we're not going to have any repercussions? I mean, do people really think that you're just going to get money in the bank and nothing's going to happen? Yeah, it's great. Pennies from heaven. Hooray. So that's unemployment in 27 European countries. It's already 6.2%. I mean, and let me tell you, they're saying the inflation rate is like 8.6%. It is not. They don't even count gas. They don't count food. I have oil heat in my house. I just filled up 200 gallons. It cost me almost $6 a gallon. It was $1,100. I said, you know what? It's summertime. Let me fill up now because summer's coming. I never converted it because it was super cheap to heat my house. And to be quite honest with you, I've been in my house so friggin' long that I just didn't want to do it. But at the end of the day, I see like the gas prices are really, it's double. And I'm hearing a lot of people, and me, it doesn't really bother me that much, that it doesn't affect my lifestyle because I have millions of dollars and I have a lot of homes. But at the end of the day, the average American is really getting screwed. I mean, that is the bottom line. People who are commuting to work. Can you imagine you're in California and you're paying $10 a gallon? I mean, to commute? I mean, that's totally ridiculous. I hope that this video shed some light on what inflation, stagflation, and recessions are. And if you have any comments, drop them below. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.